Hello and welcome to the Burning Metal podcast. We've got something different this time now. We're going to do a werewolf, the Werewolf Project horror Halloween horror special. Now that was quite a tongue-tying one. Of course, we've got Neil here, the founder of the Werewolf Project, and there was supposed to be two of the Werewolf Project tonight, but unfortunately the other member wasn't available. So we'll just go with us two for tonight.
Yeah, he was getting his nails clipped.
I can imagine there's some nails to clip. All right.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Very hard to
And
play.
of course, the Werewolf Project, you formed it last year, is that correct?
Yeah. So I had in my previous incarnation written an album to come out during COVID, and then subsequently I just decided that it'd make more sense to kind of do it as a project with people, with musicians that I really love playing with. So, and I've got amazing group of people playing on this album. So our first single is out on Halloween night. So I think Philip might share a link on that night or whatever. And we've got a rake of stuff recorded. I've got 9 or 10 songs done, and sounding mighty, sounding really great. I think you're gonna love it.
So basically, every track is going to have different musicians, correct?
There's a core. So Carl Pingwo is on vocals for the majority of them. Jay Bagnall's playing drums on a fair few of them. I've got Chris Craig from Vendetta Love playing guitar on a track. I've got Ed from Two Tales of Woe playing on a track. Connor Walls is playing on a few. He's playing bass on a few tracks. I love Connor. He's class. And then you have Kerry, who's Carl's daughter, is playing bass on the track as well, which is really, really cool. So it was one of those ones whenever Carl mentioned that he'd like to do that, you're always like,
Back off. With a bit of a suspended animation there. Go on ahead, sorry.
yeah. So where do you want just to well, Kerry, his daughter, plays bass on the track too, and she sounds amazing. So that's exciting.
So the first track that drops on Halloween night, who's going to be playing on that one?
That has myself, Carl, Jay Bagnall, Chris Craig, and Kerry, who is it's like Carl's daughter's playing bass on it, and she knocked it out of the park. Just left school, and she's an amazing bass player, which is kind of crazy.
Well, she plays in the Slayer tribute band with her dad as well. Like
that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a pretty high level, like for such a young age.
Getting a great homework, getting a great start. So it's great, and it sounded really, really good. I'm really, really excited. It's something that I've wanted to do. Only when you step away from something and you take a look at the big picture, you think, what would I like to do? How could I do this? And if you're in total kind of control of it, it's much, much easier. Rather than just everybody trying to throw an idea and then you're trying to whittle something together. I think if you go in there with a preset idea of what you're doing and how it's going to sound, and you do really good work in your track and your early tracks, so you know exactly where you're going with your guide tracks and stuff, it just makes it a lot more straightforward. And also Adam in Tsunami Studios. I don't know if you're familiar with Tsunami Studios.
I'm not, no.
It's in Ballyfermot in Dublin, and I've known Adam for probably about 7 or 8 years. And he is the guy who's been doing it all for me. He's a really good drummer as well, but he kind of knows what I like and the sound I like, and he's been putting this all together for me in the last year. I've just been going up and down to Dublin every couple of weeks, doing a guide track, coming home, doing a guide track, coming home. And Adam's amazing. So Tsunami Studios, if you're based in Dublin, you should definitely check it out. It's phenomenal studio.
Great stuff, great stuff. And of course, with you've moved to Athlone now, so
yeah.
Well, but being in a full-time band now would be very difficult.
Yeah, it is. No, obviously, down.
We had another bit of a technical issue there. Just these things can happen sometimes, but we were just saying there that of course, now you with the new project, and you were in bands for years. So now, you any plans to take this live, or are you just going to be a studio project?
No, we're definitely going to be doing stuff in the new year, 100%. But as I say, it's going to be intermittently, not as many gigs as maybe in the past. Out running about doing shows all over the place. Just logistically, it's got to be make sense. So
Hmm.
Belfast, Galway, Dublin, over the we're gonna be doing everywhere we can do, but there might be a bit of time in between each one. But hopefully, the just because everybody who's on the album is in a fairly successful in their own way band anyway. So it's going to be hard to get us all together at one time. Like Carl's always gigging with Woe, and then now with the Slayer tribute, and Jay Bagnall's always gigging somewhere. So, but yeah, when we can do it, we'll be doing it. So exciting times.
Well, good stuff, good stuff. Because when it comes to playing live now, it's if you play at the odd gig, you'll get a turnout.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be more of an event, like you know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that running about playing like a gig a week in Dublin, Dublin's not that big, it really isn't, and then you can be guilty of kind of soaking the market. There's just people are kind of sick and tired of seeing you half the time. It's just the one. But if you're doing a gig a month in Galway, Belfast, Dundalk, Dublin, whatever, then that works. You
Hmm.
can definitely do it. Maybe a few festivals or whatever, depending on how it goes down. But yeah, this is the exciting time when you're just kind of pushing stuff out there and seeing what the reaction will be. So that's a good
Well,
thing.
everyone in the band has got a pedigree, so that makes it easier too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And they're all, bar none, just lovely, just great people and really professional. And I've never went into the studio with people and got stuff done so quickly. Like the hard part was doing all the guide tracks because that's me trying to work out what works. Like a bit like when I did stuff with the Goes, I did the bass and the guitar, worked those all out, and then and the lyrics, and then it bring into the guys, and then they try and shoehorn out their ideas into it and try and put it together this way.
Hmm.
This way, it's kind of set in stone, and anything you just bring it is just people like throwing paint at it, which sounds very, I don't know, precocious, but it's cool. It really works. And they're all so good. Like if they were just daub and like big hand shitty prints everywhere, it wouldn't work. But they're all great. They're all really good artists at their own thing. So yeah, that's exciting.
And I'm glad you mentioned Lugosi because in
Hmm.
your time in Lugosi, you released, in my opinion, one of the best special editions ever.
Yeah, the video
The
box.
Stereo Nasty VHS box.
Yeah,
That was a cool one.
yeah. I had to go around Dublin trying to find old video boxes for that, and then we did the video in my house, and I got a smoke machine, and I made a werewolf hand. I'll find the clip and I'll send it to you. So it was like a promo for the video. So I made a werewolf hand with like dog hair, and I painted some claws and stuck them on a hand, and did like a voiceover, and had the smoke machine going, and the fire alarms in the house all went off. The fire brigade were called because there was smoke pummeling out the front of my house. But yeah, it's class. It was a cool idea. It's a great album. Well, I think it's a good album too. So that was really good fun. That's uh, 3 years ago.
That's 3 years ago now, 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, unreal. During
I think it's
lockdown,
3 years already, isn't it?
hard to believe that we were in lockdown. Actually, when you think
We
about it,
are,
it's
yeah.
unbelievable. Like we as a race had to stay indoors for an awful long time
Which
period of
makes
time.
it even more unusual that you managed to find all these VHS boxes, especially around that time, because people didn't want anyone around them.
Yeah, yeah. I got some guy who was out near DCU, and he used to work for RTE, and he had a box like an attic full of video cases from when he used to do like outside broadcasting. So I called his house and kind of handed him some money on a stick, and he kind of just pushed it to me. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
good.
When it comes to horror, that really was a real horror time for us, wasn't it, really?
Oh, unbelievable. I do think that if you were a young kid who was getting into playing drums or playing the guitar or something like that, I think in about 4 years, you're going to get a whole new raft of kids who just practiced for a year and a half. There
There's a
was
bunch
nothing
of them
else to
coming
do.
through already, man.
Yeah, yeah, big time. Because, I mean, all I could do was just make sure that the dog didn't shit in the house and that was about I with the kids and all that stuff. But if you had that free time, you know, fabulous. Do you ever see the episode of The Twilight Zone whenever it's Mickey Burgess Meredith from Rocky? Do you ever see that
Oh, of
episode?
course, yeah, Mickey, yeah.
Yeah, well, and he's it's what happened in lockdown for a lot of people because he's like a nerd. He just all he wants to do is sit and read a book and just relax. And life around him is just too fast, and he just prays that something will happen so he can have some time to himself. And he wakes up one morning and there's been a nuclear war. Everybody is dead. There's no buildings left. And then he walks and walks and walks, and then he sees his favorite building is still standing, and it's the library. And he's like, "This is the greatest thing ever." There's like everybody's lying dead. The library's still there. His entire life is sorted, and he runs up the stairs. He's so excited, and then his glasses fall off, and he stands on them.
Hmm. Just the cruelest of cruel ironies.
Yeah, brilliant. I just love those stories. But that was what it was like. You kind of wished for a lot of kids, it'd say it was a lovely time, you know. Um, so yeah, I have friends who were have a bit of a history with mental health and dealing with those things in the past and whatever. And I had some friends who were in who were doctors in St. Pat's in Dublin, and I was talking to one of them, and I said, during COVID, it must have been very, very hard because a lot of the people in hospital are terrified of germs and terrified of it. And he said, really interesting thing. He said that no, because it had actually happened, there was no fear of it happening anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of those people who were really concerned about this were fine, which was kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was a really weird time, wasn't it, man? It all like seems like a really bad dream now, doesn't it?
It really does, mate. It really does. And you were out there in the countryside doing your thing. I suppose when you've got space and land like you do, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the
Oh,
world.
that wasn't my house. That was the
Ah,
other lad's house.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
his house.
where are you in comparison to him?
I'm in the Roscommon town. That's
Yeah.
only 20 minutes off the road. Like I'm in a cul-de-sac here in town. It might as well be up in the country because it's so quiet down here.
Were you able to go up to social distance up in his neck of the woods then during it, or
We went out a couple of times.
yeah? If you have
But it was,
space, I think if you were stuck in a wee kind of terrace house with no garden or stuff, it would have been a bit of a torture. But
oh no, we weren't too bad because there's a big park just around the corner.
oh yeah,
So we just went down and walked the park every day.
happy days, happy
Ah,
days.
look, it was a time. It was a time, but look at we got out of it and things are back to normal again.
Yeah, as normal as they'll ever be.
Well, I think they're more abnormal than they've ever been when we look out your window now, but that's
Yeah,
just
politically anyway,
oh,
certainly it's
we won't
crazier.
go down that rabbit hole. My God.
No.
There's a real horror story now over in America when you look at the two candidates. My God, you've got one that can't answer a question and blames the other one for everything, even though he wasn't there for the last 3.5 years, and the other one's a maniac. So,
It's you couldn't write it. Honestly, you couldn't write it. And yeah, people like Elon Musk, who I still think is like a doc, like I don't know, he's like a Batman villain to me. But
oh, he is, yeah.
yeah, but there's yeah, it's crazy and much more to come. So I'll be watching it on TV in 2 weeks' time through the night with coffee and just letting it all just soak over me and just going, Jesus Christ, how lucky are we? But anyway,
Anyways, we're on. We're here to talk about some horror films now for the because
mm,
this is going to be live on Halloween night. So we're just tradition. We do the Halloween horror one every year. Eventually, as I said, normally there's a few of us, but just two this year.
better.
And we've gotten where else would you start at? Only at the beginning, 102 years ago, when Nosferatu was released upon the world.
Uh-huh.
Even
Unreal.
though it's a silent film, the music in this film is superb.
Yeah. There's everything about that movie from start to finish. There's Metropolis, there's Nosferatu, there was one London After Midnight, which I think potentially would have been even more terrifying than Nosferatu in its own way, but that was lost in a fire in the 60s, so
Hmm.
there's no actual prints of it now. But Nosferatu is just incredible. When he just when he goes upright from the ship is just one of the greatest scenes ever. It's iconic, and you could totally think that and it was a great idea to have the idea of making the movie there a few years ago where he actually was a vampire, which made which made a lot of sense because he did look. You couldn't have cast him better. He was incredible. So that's a 10. Nosferatu's a 10 from the first moment I watched that movie. The yeah, it just is fabulous and black and white. It's hard to beat black and white, really.
And it just had an atmosphere, an eerie atmosphere throughout, and the fact that it was silent maybe made it even more eerie, like because you didn't even know what he sounded like.
That's it. That's it. And the lighting, because you're just gonna be so clever with the lighting.
And to
Uh,
this day, there's still musical tours going around the world doing the music of Nosferatu over 100 years later. Like so,
they did
that just
something
shows
right.
how culturally it's even now. It's even still relevant all these years later, like over a century.
No, it's incredible. I think probably until Christopher Lee, you couldn't really imagine another vampire. It's a bit like Sherlock Holmes whenever they did Basil Rathbone. You couldn't. That was him until Jeremy Brett came along, and then that was Sherlock Holmes. So yeah, Nosferatu is a very special movie.
Well, you said there about you couldn't imagine another Dracula, but there was
Mm-hmm.
Bela Lugosi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So good you were in a band named after him.
Yeah. Well, for many reasons, but he was the quintessential actor, and I mean, when you see what was done with when he eventually started working with Ed Wood, if you ever watched the movie of Ed Wood,
Yeah.
which is one of the funniest films ever made, he yeah, he just had that character, but he played him on stage as well in the theater before he got the movie roles, so he was kind of ready for it. But a top guy, and died in pretty much poverty, which was really sad, considering he was probably the biggest star in Hollywood when that movie came out. Um, Amazing.
Money wasn't there back then, though.
No, and we had to call the band Lugosi at that time. Just yeah, iconic. Everything about him, amazing. But yeah, it's hard to go from when you look at Nosferatu and then Lugosi's Dracula. The there's not apart from the drinking blood thing. There's nothing in common with the two characters. Like, so that
Night
was a
and day,
good
literally.
yeah, that was a good thing. Well, Night and Night probably
Yeah,
would be
exactly.
you can't you couldn't imagine until a bit like pirate movies because pirates didn't talk like or until I can't remember the name of the actor who played it back in the 30s or 40s, and then all pirates started talking like that. So until Bela Lugosi started being Dracula, and he talks it like this, and then that's your vampire voice, I mean, up till Gary Oldman, they were still aping that voice, so nobody knew what he sounded like. So that was the thing about Lugosi. He really made it his own. So yeah, great movie.
hmm And we got to give a bit of love to the old creature features of the 50s. And we'll just bring up them.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that
yeah.
actually still stands up very well.
I haven't watched that in years.
I watched it there about, I suppose it's 5 years ago, and it still looks fairly good.
Hmm.
Like there was
Years
loads of
ago.
creature features in the 50s, and there were a dime a dozen. Like,
Yeah, you're a huge DVD man still, aren't you?
oh god, yeah.
And is it just because you like the physical feeling of having something and putting the DVD in, or?
No, because if a massive solar flare hits tomorrow and
Mm,
takes out the internet, everything is gone.
yeah,
That's
that's
the
true.
that's the problem.
And your DVDs will come incredibly expensive.
Well, I don't think they'll become expensive, but they'll be still nice to have.
Yeah, so we'll be hoping for no solar flare, especially not this evening.
No, but the solar flare theory, if it did happen, it would wipe the internet out for about. It'd be back up in 3 months.
Is there a part of you would like that to happen? I think I'd like that to happen for 3 months.
Definitely wouldn't mind social media being gone for 3 months anyway.
But yeah, I think that'd be great. I, even when the news comes on now, I automatically turn on to Sky Arts. I made that decision last week. Even if Sky Arts is showing like some woman painting a watercolor on a river, I'd much rather watch that than watch the news at the minute. So yeah, a solar flare would be good.
It'd be It cleansed the world for a few weeks anyway. Oh, and I meant to say it at the start. I would like to also say a massive fuck you to Brexit as well too,
Yeah.
because I ordered a bunch of films for this because it was originally going to be a lot bigger than it is now because there's going to be a few of us.
Hmm.
None of them have arrived, bar two.
And you also would have been paying a lot more for it as well because of Brexit. But I think Amazon are making something in Ireland soon, aren't they? So it's going to be
Well,
cheaper
if
to get
you're on
stuff.
Amazon and you get it through Prime, you'll get them.
Mhm. Right.
But I bought them off eBay and I
Okay.
didn't get any of them
Well, that sucks.
because one was the birds. I don't have it, obviously. It was 30 quid on Amazon and it was a fiver on eBay.
Wow.
So
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's an absolute classic as well.
I know, sickened.
Yeah, I have the entire Hitchcock box set with that in it as well, so I can, if I'd known that, I could have brought it over to you.
Well, I'll go look on Amazon again in the future.
Yeah, yeah,
And of course, when you've got the T-shirt on, but that was a series, as you mentioned,
yeah.
you have to bring a lot of love for the Hammer era of horror, one of the most successful studios of all time. Because people don't know that Hammer, the studio, made drama films, racing films, horror films. They made films across the board,
Yeah.
but everyone just remembers them for the horror now.
Shepperton Studios. Everything about there's a continuity with movies from the Hammer when you're watching Witchfinder General, or you can see the same buildings, the same countryside and stuff, and it's lovely. It's like a continuation of each story in a kind of strange way, but I love them. Mark Gatiss did a wonderful A to Z of horror, which is actually on YouTube, and it goes through the Hammer Studios in Shepperton in depth, because like some of those films are just absolute. Well, I love all of them. The kidsher, the better. I absolutely love them. Um,
A
but
few of them haven't aged that well. A few of them have a lot of pacing issues,
mm,
but that's just to be expected because the budget and the film works wouldn't be as big as they are now. Like you could tell that they were shoestring in a lot of regards. Like
oh yeah, and real quirky. And you're also looking at a time when there was an awful lot of recreational drugs. So you're looking at the abominable uh, Doctor Fives and stuff like that. There's an awful lot of freak out scenes and kind of which I love, but it just adds to their charm for me. It's they're period pieces, and I think that's the way they should be. But they did old stuff really well. Like if you do watch Witchfinder General in particular, it feels like you're in those old pubs and you can smell the guys who are walking around the place, and there's cleavage everywhere and just booze getting it's fabulous, and really really vivid bright reds whenever somebody gets their throat slashed out.
oh yeah, it was
So
like over the top. Like
totally, which is what I like.
and of course the Witchfinder General was another one that didn't arrive on me.
Yeah, no, it's such a good movie.
And you were saying you had a bit of a story for the Witchfinder General about your own background.
Oh well, I have my great aunt Clara was a white witch, so
Right.
I have her. I have a few of her books. I've got her Bible. I've got her mirror, which is even kind of freakier. Real old kind of cherry wood mirror with like moons and stuff on it. It's really really cool. And when my mum was a kid, she used to go over to England on the boat and stay with her for summers. Um, but she was like a herbalist and stuff, but she was a practicing white witch. So I've got some of her spell books and stuff,
Wow.
which are deadly. So I've had a bit of a delve in the past, and I think my mum is convinced that she has a wee bit of it still in her. But yeah, I've written songs about it, and I wrote White Witch about
White Witch, yeah, and Lugosi, yeah.
Flower and stuff. So yeah, that's all legit. But really, just like going to the chemist today, if you stood on a hornet, you'd go and see my great aunt Clara, and she'd do some sort of wee compote, and she'd get you back on your feet again. But yeah, a lot of stuff. Like mum would get like vegetables and like draw crosses on them, bury them in the garden. Still to this day, things like that. So the neighbours all think my mum's half, touched. But, yeah, but there is, there's definitely something in it, and I think it's class personally. witchcraft has always fascinated me in that respect.
Very
Uh,
good.
and you were talking about a Hammer, of course, being Shepherd Studios and making all the movies. They also, if anybody wants to check out, they made a series in the late 70s, early 80s, Hammer House of Horror, and all the episodes were loaded up at over lockdown, and they're the best hour you could ever spend. There's the house that bled to death is a particularly brilliant story. Where you see like a children's party, and then the ceiling comes down, and they'll get covered in blood. It's amazing. Um, Children of the Full Moon, which is an amazing werewolf story.
Mm-hmm.
What is the one? Rude Awakenings, which is Denham Elliott in it, where it's a bit like Groundhog Day. So he goes to work, he's just in a wee office, and he's got a really buxom secretary there who's always all over him. And then he goes home, and his wife is always giving him a hard time. Then he comes into work the next day, buxom secretary there again. But it's just like a Groundhog Day, keeps on going over and over, which is fabulous, and he gets his just desserts at the end. Charlie Boy, which is a couple go to their uncle's house estate sale. They lift a voodoo doll that they like the look of, bring it home. He stabs it a few times. A guy that he really hates dies, and then it's just like a great voodoo story. But all of those are free on YouTube, and they're all brilliant.
Well, there you go. So if somebody's looking for something to watch, which a lot of people are now, because modern content has gone so poor in the last few years.
Yeah.
You know, everyone is kind of going back in time now because that's where the good stuff is.
Yeah. Movies get hyped up way too much. Back in the day, you saw a poster, and you're like, oh, you went along, and then somebody would say to you, oh, you've got to go and watch this Basil Rathbone movie, or you've got to go and watch this Bela Lugosi movie. The word of mouth and just one picture would be all you need. Now you've seen what happens. You see who gets killed. And by the way, the killing in modern horror movies is so gratuitous and on the verge of mentally retarded, I think, personally. There's nothing left to the imagination. And when you do leave it to the imagination, it's almost always scarier than just getting somebody's brains pulled apart in front of you, you know?
Well, my take on modern films is they're either instantly forgettable or really, really poorly written.
Yeah. Yeah, the writing makes all the difference.
Writing is pathetic.
Yeah.
And we're going to move on. We're going to move on to a film that caused absolute terror at the time because it was broadcast on the radio, and people thought it was real.
War of the Worlds?
The War of the Worlds.
I listened to it on cassette when I was about 13 years old, under the blankets with a torch. Orson Welles reading it. It was unbelievable. It caused actual accidents.
Oh, yeah.
People were in the gardens with shotguns thinking they were getting invaded.
Oh, yeah, it would cause absolute chaos.
That's how you promote a movie. Or how you promote a book. I mean, what you actually say that it's actually happening is a way to do it. It is such a good read, and the audio, if you ever get a chance to listen to it, guys, it's just fabulous.
And the film still sounds up really well to this day.
Yeah, compared to the remake, which
don't talk to me about that.
Which was dog shit.
Oh, that's one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was dreadful, but the first one's amazing.
When you know that his son got killed in the remake,
right? I
was happy he was dead.
Okay.
Just not because he was just such an annoying character. You're like, thank God you're dead. If a character in a film does that to you, that's not good.
Yeah, if you
should never be rooting for the bad guys in a horror film, like.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the time in the other genre time period that I love with the American 80s slasher stuff, you did want a lot of those kids to be slayed in some shape or form. Because they were generally jocks, weren't they? Just
horrible. Oh yeah, they were just tailor-made to be just mincemeat out of.
What do you call those jackets? Like those college jackets with the white sleeves with the college name on it. Yeah, I like to see them getting some sort of horrific death. Members only jackets. I'd say members only.
And funny enough, you mentioned horrific deaths because at the time in cinema history, it was an horrific death. was the
Mm.
original Psycho.
Mm.
Like that really blew people away back in those days. That shower scene, like, to my knowledge, there'd never been a scene like that before in a film. That graphic, like,
Janet Leigh never had a shower after that movie. She only had baths.
yeah,
She
she
was
was just,
terrified of showers. And again, the fact that you don't see much, it's your mind is telling you what's going on. You hear the noise of the knife going in, which is enough, and you see the blood go down the plug hole.
mhm.
It's what you're imagining in your head is what's going on. Is the terrifying part. And the other thing, the music it was written for, it was only written for strings, which makes it really, really hard on the ear, but
Oh yeah.
incredible. So I mean, Psycho, we said that's a 10. And on the weird side of that movie, the remake of Psycho, when they did it scene for scene for scene with Vince Vaughn, I didn't hate, but it got destroyed, got panned. But the original is just sensational.
Mhm. And before we kick on to the next one, another one that didn't arrive, The Birds.
Incredible.
Bastards. But when we're talking about Psycho, Psycho 2, before we kick on to the next one, and that is
Mm.
a very, very underrated film, I think.
That's the problem with movies that are so good. The second one is generally going to get a bit of a hard time. I am with you on that. I think Psycho 2 is really good and stands alone.
Yeah.
I'm also the same with Creepshow, because Creepshow 2 I prefer to Creepshow 1. And I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 with Dennis Hopper. Um, it's just when you're a victim of your own success, when the first one is so good, anything else is going to be considered a bit of a step down. But there's some fantastic things in that. Now, Psycho 2, what year was Psycho 2? 83,
That's the
84?
early 80s, yeah.
Yeah, I loved that movie. I thought it was class. And again, it was. I saw Psycho 2 before I saw Psycho 1. So
Yeah.
I only saw the poster in the video club.
I seen Psycho 2 first myself, and it made sense because it's 22 years later and Norman Bates is coming home.
Yeah, yeah,
So it was
yeah,
such a gap that when he did come home,
yeah.
it's just like he comes home all these years later and it starts happening again, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
But with an added twist.
And if ever there was an actor that was typecast, it was him. Like, did you ever see him in anything else? I mean, that's of note. Like, I think it was the chalice that he drank from that you could never get rid of. When you're in a movie like that, that's you. That's your character. But like Robert England. I mean,
Yeah.
I know Robert England had V, which was great for him at the time. But I mean, he's Freddy. He's not. You cannot think of him as anything else.
No.
Um, yeah.
It's a bit like playing James Bond. It ruins your career, basically.
That's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally.
Another great film from the olden days, Silent Green is People, huh? Another one you wrote a song about with Lugosi.
Yeah, no, that was one that I actually didn't write. That was JM's song from his old punk band in New York. So he
All
had,
right.
now we definitely Lugosied it up, and then there was a video done for it and stuff. So we did change it around a lot, but the lyrics of that are just pretty much the storyline of the movie, and it's fantastic. That's an amazing film. I haven't seen a good print of it for a long time, so I might have to actually look at getting it on DVD myself because it's always real grainy, crappy versions I always end up seeing. So,
Yeah, this is an older copy as well too.
mm,
What year did it get reprinted? 2003, so that was just 20 years ago. So that was 21 years ago now since that was printed.
wow, yeah,
I just
it's
say
such
that
a great
sometimes I
story.
get lucky with these things. I just find them, you know.
Yeah, Soylent Green is people. It's if the government could get away with that, then they would.
Oh, they definitely would. They'd use it to get rid of the overpopulation problem.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot to be said for that idea. If there's a certain group of people you'd like to eat,
The
then
rich.
English conservatives, right? Conservatives, I could eat certainly, but it's a tremendous movie. And again, what a clever idea! A bit like They Live. It's an allegory on life and what the government and what the man would really like to do to you. And it's just an incredible movie.
And of course, it was the year 2022 when that all started happening.
Wow.
They thought they thought by 2 years, but then again, the way the world has been going the last 2 years, eating people mightn't be the fucking worst thing that happened in the world, would it?
No, exactly. Well, it's when you buy a bit of fish now, you're kind of eating somebody's, I don't know, bits of somebody's microwave from Taiwan. You know, the amount of stuff that's floating about in the place. So maybe human flesh might be the way forward.
Less microplastics.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, we got to give a bit of love to the old Australian Ozploitation era of films
hmm
and a bit of turkey shoot.
I've never seen turkey shit.
Have you not? No.
No.
Basic premise is they're basically been hunted,
hmm
and it's extremely graphic.
Okay. What year is that?
What year would this have been? 1980.
It wasn't Phil Jackson, was it? It wasn't Bad Taste guy, was it?
This says very little on it. I can't remember who done it now. It was No, it was basically part of the whole Australian exploitation era films in the 70s and early 80s.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Because there was some really nasty films coming out of Australia in those days.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah.
even Mad Max was nasty in the comparison to a lot of American films.
Yeah. Fantastic movie at the same
Great
time.
film, but it was nasty though.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Like the
yeah.
scene with the wife and the kid, like that was. I know you didn't actually see them getting run over, but you saw enough. Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll give that a watch.
oh, it's worth checking out. It's on YouTube for free.
Ah, okay.
Turkish Shoot is up on YouTube for free. I've seen it there on YouTube recently enough.
Okay, I'm gonna give that a watch.
And of course, from the old days, The Shining. What a
Mm,
great film.
Unreal.
Here's Johnny.
Unreal. The old woman in the shower scene. I remember watching that and just feeling physically sick. It's just because you just don't expect that scene. It's perfectly done. Kubrick is just a clever, clever guy. There's where do you start with that film? The blood in the hall scene, the twins, the maze, and then the iconic, axe through the door.
hmm
Um, just the best. I
She
love.
never acted again after that film.
Mhm.
She never acted again after that film.
Yeah, I think she fell into poverty and living on the streets a bit, didn't she, for a while?
I
So
didn't know that now, but I know she never went into a met any films again because she was
Shelley
fucking
Baldwin.
traumatized by the end of that film because they really did freak her out badly on that set. She did
Shelley
like her reaction with the axe scene was genuine. She didn't know it was going to happen.
Mm, mm,
They
mm.
said, "Right, use the stand there." And next thing, she was just there waiting to see what happened. Next thing, bang, an axe comes through the door, and it just apparently she was just so fucking traumatized by the end of it. She said, "That's it. I'm never acting again."
Oh wow! I wonder did Nicholson take the role? Did he do much reading? Did he read the book? Did he before the movie got done? I wonder what the process was for that, and was he always the guy that they considered? Because you can't imagine anybody else playing that role, but he is sensational. I think also probably medically enhanced around that time as well. So what you're saying is probably a man having a bit of a breakdown in real time.
He was a bit of a
So
party boy, all right.
yeah, oh, unreal. Him and Dennis Hopper, Jesus Christ, yeah.
Head cases.
Yeah. Oh, Dennis Hopper, which links me to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, when he plays the sheriff in that. Yeah, if you get a chance, watch that. I think that's on YouTube as well. It's phenomenal.
And before we kick on to other older ones, what did you think of Doctor Sleep, the follow-up to The Shining?
I never saw Doctor Sleep. That's another one I haven't seen.
That is
What year?
actually very, very good.
What year was that?
That's only a few years ago. It's I need to get glasses. 2019.
Okay, and it's good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's the direct sequel to The Shining, and Ewan McGregor plays young Danny many years
Mhm.
into the future.
Wow.
And one thing, it's very early in the film, so I'm not really spoiling anything on you. In the future, he has a severe drinking problem,
Okay.
which makes complete sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
He was
yeah,
a kid. He
yeah.
watched the fellow that introduced him to The Shining get brutally murdered by an axe, and then his own father tried to murder him in the maze. Like that's some serious childhood trauma. Like that's got alcohol problems in later life written all over it. Like
if you end up just with alcohol problems after that, you're actually not done too bad.
Exactly like that. That's life-changing shit. No, if you haven't seen it, that is very well worth a watch.
Okay, I like it.
It's
It's
one that
great.
like I remember when I was working in the cinema back in those days, and I seen the sequel was coming out, and it was like Blade Runner 2049 level. I was just like, oh, I'm terrified of this.
Yeah.
But I waited 2 days, and everyone was coming out and saying, yeah, that is very good. Went and watched it, and I thought it was excellent. It's well worth checking out if you haven't seen
What cinema did you work in?
it. Hmm?
What cinema did you work
It was
in?
the one here in town. It was called CNLplex.
And is it gone now?
It's an Omniplex now.
Did you get loads of free posters when you were there?
There's such an amount of them up in my attic, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hold
I've got
on.
the limited edition Back to the Future Day One, all sorts.
Wow.
I've got the special edition Star Wars prints and everything.
Unreal. I've got a tremendous Daleks Invasion Earth, the old Peter Cushing movie poster, which I absolutely love. That stuff's class. I mean, that's the stuff you want to keep. Like,
If I got a big over my head here, got a big cinema poster rack, one of the ones in the cinema where you can open and close and put them back in again.
oh yeah,
If I had one of them up there, I could change it every week for the rest of my life, and I'd probably still have more up in the attic.
you should do. You should totally do it like once a month, even really class.
Could I? Maybe I should. Maybe I should. I should do something with them anyway.
Yeah. Oh no, that's amazing.
And a film over time that has been proven to be absolute bollocks, but it was big film. The Amityville Horror, it captured people's minds for generations, even though it's been proven since to be pure bullshit.
Yeah,
It's changed the story more times over the years. Like,
I loved it, but yeah, I mean, the subsequent ones were absolute dog shit, but I love the original Amityville Horror. But yeah, all proven to be nonsense, but still very watchable.
and another one that I was ordered that I didn't arrive, in my opinion, is better. Amityville 2: The Possession.
Yeah,
I think it's better, the prequel story to the first one. I just think it's a better film.
yeah, yeah. As I say, sometimes the second one gets overshadowed by the first. It's one that I'd have to revisit, but I remember Amityville, the actual franchise, went on. I think they made about 5 or 6 movies in the end.
And
Um,
more.
maybe more.
I
Yeah.
think the last time I checked, there's 16 of them.
Is there? Well, there you go.
But they're absolutely tripe.
Yeah.
I remember the third one when they had the pool in the fucking in the basement, and then in the fourth one that was inside in the lamp.
Mm.
Oh my, that was enough for me.
Yeah, I like the first one.
First two are very good. After
I
that,
also like the song that "It's the House on the Hill," Amityville. It was class. It was one of the first singles I bought in the 80s.
boy, Phantasm.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Uh,
The trilogy is actually good, to be fair.
yeah, but the first one is just unreal. It's so low budget, and I mean the sheriff was, I think, was in maybe the first, second, and maybe the third. The wee bald guy who's like an anti-hero, but his class in it, and he's just phenomenal. And the special effects in that movie for the time were tremendous.
Considering how it's old, it's in the 70s, like.
Yeah, when you see the balls just flying through the air and the little blade comes out and straight in your forehead, and then all the blood getting sucked out the back of it. They're class, and the ball is back. What a great tagline for each one. I love Fat Battle. Brilliant movies.
One of my most valuable items,
Yeah,
the Dawn of the Dead box set.
amazing.
That now goes for like €400.
Does it really?
I paid like 80 for it.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's just the ultimate zombie film.
yeah. It's George A. Romero, so it's going to be incredible from start to finish.
Well, The Night of the Living Dead was excellent, and The Day of the Dead was good too, to an extent. But this is just the pinnacle, really, isn't it?
It's incredible. It's Dawn of the Dead about when they're in the helicopter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going, yeah.
And the big supermarket, the big shopping mall.
Yeah. And that the whole idea of the movie was because Romero was walking around and looking at people in shopping malls like zombies. But yeah, if he was watching people on mobile phones now, it'd be even worse. But that's that was one of those ones. What age are you now, Phil? You're
44.
okay, so I'm 50. When that movie first came out, I would watch it in my school uniform with my best mates. We watch it once a week. It was just so unlike anything we'd ever seen before. Because he had money to make that movie. The first few, a lot of time the shots are real budget minimal, if anything. But the budget he put had in that movie is just tremendous. And yeah, well worth having in your collection. Brilliant movies.
Absolutely. And one that shook a generation, The Exorcist, when that came out, like that was just, especially in Ireland, because it was banned for many years, as we all know.
Yeah, The Exorcist and The Omen, they just
We
cut
might as
so.
well talk about the two of them together, so because that was what I was going to pull out next.
Yeah, there's just some with especially with religion in Ireland. It was cut so close to home. Even when you go to church, um, like I'm a Protestant, but I go to Catholic. My kids are Catholic. My wife's Catholic. When I would go to like a mass, and they are. There's a certain amount of gravitas and a certain amount of terror that you get when you're in a big old church. Candles are floating about. You get, and then when it's taken to those extremes, it's really, really psychologically it plays havoc with your head. Um, the Omen is great. The Exorcist for me is just an incredible film. It's a 10. Everything about that movie is just incredible.
And the two of them had great practical effects.
Oh yeah, unreal. Linda Blair is just incredible in that movie. Another girl who probably couldn't get a normal movie role after that,
She played herself again in Repossessed with Leslie Nielsen.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because she was a bit of a hottie in reality, wasn't she? But
Yeah.
yeah, she was just built up with makeup and throwing up all over the place. Unless that's your thing.
Typist, one of those. But they reckon the Omen was the set was cursed because there was so much many things that went wrong on that film. Like,
Well, they do say there was a curse of the omen, and a lot of people died, and grips and sound engineers and stuff all coming to a bit of a sticky end. So there was a very funny story about the Omen when the book came out. There was I listened to an interview, and it was a guy who used to work for the BBC and had been given that book and had read the Omen from start to finish. Well, read the first few chapters of the Omen, and then had said to this girl, "Oh, this book is horrendous. I cannot finish this book. It's just terrifying." And he had it in his drawer in work, and he said he had to take it and throw it out to the sea because it was just terrifying him so much. So, because walking home, or maybe he threw it in the river on the way home, he just couldn't finish the book. So she went and bought another copy and soaked it and then put it in his drawer. So he came to work the next day, and she never told him.
oh Jesus, man, that would freak you out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, man, brilliant, brilliant story.
And a very different change in direction here. The thing, like that's just when it
Ah,
comes to atmospheric horror and just pure paranoia. No film, in my opinion, does it better than this.
that's a headphone movie late at night with a glass of wine. You need to be just totally you and the movie, and with no distractions. It's an incredible film. Kurt Russell is just the business. I love him anyway, but the thing is just brilliant. The special effects in the thing still stand up, I think, as well.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the sequel to it, or a prequel?
Don't think so. The only thing anything with dogs being killed, I'm not big into, so that was a bit of a horrendous scene. But apart from that, but no, I never saw the prequel. It's good.
Apparently, I've never watched it myself. Actually, it's very good.
Okay, give it a
It's
go.
one of those films I was told to watch on when I've done these over the years, and I'm like, oh, let's do that, and I never did.
Okay, no, I'll
But
look
sure.
it up.
And we've already touched on it a few times, but of course, you have to bring up the Texas Chainsaw Massacre when it comes to classic horror films, don't you?
Bo Cooper, yeah, incredible,
Like
incredible
that
film.
scene when she's at the table and they're all just fucking banging with the hammers and screaming and roaring at her. It's just like,
Trying to give the hammer to the granddad, but
oh yeah.
he hasn't got the strength to knock it over her head.
Could you
Uh,
imagine how terrifying that would be to be strapped to that fucking chair and them lunatics all going around you and a lad with a human leather face with a fucking chainsaw, like, Jesus Christ, like,
well, when you're talking about movies like Amityville Horror that aren't really based on any truth. Texas Chainsaw Massacre it's Ed Gein. It's a story. It's like it's several of those serial killers all rolled up into one, and that's what you get that movie. It's incredibly disturbing.
Oh
Uh,
God, yeah.
whenever Leatherface is in his kitchen and just throws those iron shutters across and just starts coming towards the camera, it's just incredible. And then whenever the girl actually does manage to get away and she's in the back of the truck, she's covered in blood, she's just hysterically laughing as she drives. That's just it. It looks like it's reality. That movie is just it's another 10. If you're rating these movies, that is a 10.
Another. We're going to put in some heavy hitters now, just for cultural, how they've been like big cultural horror films, and of course, Child's Play
Yeah,
has had his lasted generations too. Like it's been around for the best part of 30 years now.
yeah,
More.
yeah. It was kind of towards the end of the 80s, Child's Play, wasn't it?
It would have been, yeah. What year was it? Say here, 1988.
Yeah, so I'm okay with clowns and dolls. Those two don't actually really get me that terrified. That's a great movie, and it went on spawn some fantastic sequels. But those things in themselves don't Terrifier maybe a little bit,
Hmm.
but generally clowns and dolls I'm okay with.
Did you watch the remake of it there a few years ago?
Of Child's Play?
Yeah,
No.
it's actually quite good.
Okay.
This isn't a spoiler, but it's basically rather than the doll as it was in the original that he possessed, obviously.
Yeah.
These are AI programmed dolls and how it can go wrong.
Okay, so we're pretty close to reality there, aren't we?
We have various, but it's a bit like that film Megan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's a bit like that, but it's not the same. It's just the opening scene of the film is he's making the Chucky doll the best friend or whatever they were called. I can't remember the name now,
Mm.
and he just changes something on the programming because he's pissed off.
Yeah. Well,
And it goes from there.
that does cut very close to home. When you saw those new AI bots last week that Musk has just rolled out, it's only a matter of time.
Sure, they have AI controlled dogs now in China that have machine guns attached to them.
Mm. No, you see, I quite like one of those.
That actually sounds cool.
Yeah.
Never mind having a fucking Alsatian or a Doberman or a fucking whatever else. Just have that outside. Postman
Yeah.
would never come near your house again.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. And you would for shit at 2 in the morning, like I'm having to do at the minute with my guy 'cause he was in an accident. But yeah, okay. We'll watch this space. Maybe next year we'll have one.
Another cultural, like we've mentioned them already, Robert Englund. Which of course was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, another.
1 and 3 are the best, let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, it's especially. I think it's. I always get 2 and 3 mixed up. 2, I think, is the quite homoerotic one, isn't it? When the guy is.
To be honest, man, it's been so long. I don't really remember. I just remember the first one and the third one. The
Yeah,
third one was when they were all in the home,
yeah,
the big child home.
yeah. So the second one is all based around the school, and there's an awful lot of homoerotic undertones in it. And in fact, so much so that the star of it did eventually come out as being gay. And that movie is considered like a really cultural important movie in the gay canon of movies, which is kind of crazy. And then
Jesus,
when you watch it now, it all makes sense, and you're like, oh yeah, it's actually quite empowering for them. It's great. But the first one with that's well, spoiler alert. I'm sure you probably said it, but when she gets pulled through the window of the house into her head. Oh, I love Nightmare on Elm Street. Absolutely love it.
Great shows, and one of the best when it comes to visual effects, but that were practical at the same time. The Fly, the original.
Goldblum, or the original.
No, the 1980s one.
Oh yeah. Because the original is a bit cheesy.
Oh yeah, the original one now is just help me, help me.
Yeah.
This was just them transforming from a human's form into a fly, and it was fucking mental. Like
Horrific, absolutely horrific.
When he
and he
starts learning how to eat with the fly vomit projecting.
threw one up first so he can eat it.
Yeah.
It,
Oh,
it's so camp, and he's the perfect actor for that movie. I love Jeff Goldblum. He's class. That was probably his breakthrough movie as well, wasn't it? I mean, that was what put him on the map, I think. So,
one it would have been one of them. Yeah.
amazing film.
And one thing about this film that I always remember from a very young age is his wardrobe. He
Yeah,
wore the same clothes all the time.
yeah.
Well, that's something that I actually brought into later life.
You were
I'd
the same,
always have like five different exactly same pairs of shorts. I'll have five exact same pairs of jeans.
right?
So I don't have to think about it. I'm either
Uh,
wearing shorts or jeans.
was this his character or him, Jeff Goldblum? Is this
No, his
character
character in the film.
in the movie?
In the movie, he was like thinking about what clothes to put on is a waste of time and brain power. So just
Gotcha.
wear the same thing.
Never picked up on that, but that's interesting. Yeah, just
That just stuck for me for whatever reason. I don't know why. I was like, that's actually genius.
yeah. That's so you picked up a very unusual thing from that movie,
Ah,
but it works. Yeah, it works.
works. Another obscure one from the 80s, but it was a. It had a lot of sequels, but it never really caught fire. Was Reanimator.
Yeah, it's
It was a
amazing.
cool idea.
Well, the original story is incredible. So yeah, brilliant. I love Reanimator. It's a Lovecraft story, so it's P. Lovecraft story, the original Reanimator. And if you read the book, it's almost scene for scene for scene to the book, so it's really, really well put together. I didn't see the later Reanimators. I love the original one because of that time frame of when it was made, that early '80s sweet spot of American slasher and horror movies. It just slipped right in there. It was around the same time as one of my all-time favorite movies, which was Trick or Treat. So yeah, I watched Reanimator and Trick or Treat, I think, together, pretty much when they came out together. And it's brilliant. And if you get a chance to read the original story, it's exactly like the movie. Tremendous.
Very good.
Mm.
The Fog.
Oh,
Film
I
that
love it.
fucking scared people of fog for years.
I absolutely love it. Just the DJ thing. I mean, it's there's parts of it would put you in mind to play Misty for me because it's all set from the local DJ in the area. But just every 100 years, that fog comes in, and oh, the acting in it is brilliant as well. I absolutely love the fog. It's a fantastically put together movie. I stood up really well as well. Good
Hmm.
movie.
Vampire films, as we've touched on earlier, have gone through many different phases. But the 80s ones, one in particular, and there was two in particular in the 80s. Fright Night was one, and this was the other one, where the vampires came across what I think they should have come across as. It was near dark, where they were just pure feral,
Yeah,
and they didn't give a shit. They weren't trying to be anything other than fucking vampires. Like,
yeah, class movie. I haven't seen that in years. I would also say that you have to add the Lost Boys in there too.
there you go. I
Yeah,
was just about to bring that up next as another example of feral vampires in the 80s.
yeah,
Not quite as in your face in this now, but they were feral like.
it's brilliant. And again, it stands up. And the new print, which came out, well, 2022, it's like it was made yesterday. It's especially on the big screen TV. It looks and sounds amazing. The soundtrack to it is still class. Echoing the Bunnymen and gonna have a good time tonight. Michael Hutchins and other.
And that lad that played the fucking saxophone is still touring to this day.
He has made a career out of that 30
Yeah.
second clip in that movie.
Hmm.
But so well filmed, that film. And this is before you had drones and stuff, but you've got footage where you're flying in over the
Yeah.
bay and the Frog Brothers in the little comic shop. Corey Feldman, who of
Yeah.
course is living his own kind of wacky horror lifestyle now as well. Have you been following his career recently, Corey
Oh,
Feldman?
his career has been very interesting, start to finish, really, hasn't it?
Jesus Christ. Yeah. He's been touring on that Loserville show. He's been supporting yeah. Oh my God, the guy's totally up his own arse and thinks he's brilliant, which is class. If you think you're brilliant, that's half the battle.
Hmm. But I kind of forgive him because his youth was fucking traumatized. The two Corys, man, what they was done to them was fucking shocking. Like,
Absolutely unreal. And then But when you read, if you read Corey Feldman's autobiography, he always says he was nearly raped, or somebody kissed him, or maybe felt his arse a bit. But it was always Corey Haim who was getting really badly abused. So I don't know if Corey Feldman actually was abused in any way, but Corey Haim was just, I don't know. He was like a trampoline for the industry. It was horrendous.
Shocking
Some of
shit.
the yeah, some of the names that were getting bandied about who were part of this whole thing were, shocking. So we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg now with the whole P Diddy thing, all this celebrity, the cult of celebrity, and what went on.
Oh,
Not
it's been going on for a long time, man. It's
yeah,
been going on for a very long time.
yes, it has.
And another film there was three of them in the end, and it seemed cursed because the girl herself didn't actually make it until the showing of the actual final cut of the third film, which was Poltergeist.
Yeah,
Which that film now it's just well, it's obviously terrifying because it's a horror, but it's just the fact that it's just something as simple as like they didn't move, they just moved the headstones and
yeah,
all these Indian burial ground, and next thing this shit comes about like.
yeah. It's a brilliant story. And that's a real that Indian burial ground thing has been going for years and years. It's popped up in so many different movies. Um, but the Poltergeist one is just incredible. But there's always the real hoodoo about Native Americans and stuff. If you ever watch, which is the one with John Wayne when he's it's not the ooh, one of John Wayne's first movies when he's a real despicable kind of cowboy, and it kind of goes against type in it, and you don't really want to be rooting for him,
Mhm.
and he stabs like a Native American in the eyes. Uh, but it was done because if he didn't do that, they wouldn't get into the happy hunting grounds. He was doing it out of compassion. Like the whole mythology around Native American folklore and horror is really, really, really seriously disturbing. And the thoughts of building a house on an Indian burial ground is not the best of ideas. But
Mhm.
I'd say there was an awful lot of graveyards around in and around Dublin that were probably lifted
Uh,
and apartments set on top of them.
there's a graveyard literally over that wall, like
Yeah, yeah,
beside
yeah,
my
yeah.
house.
Do you like to walk around it?
It's I've not really. It's just there, like.
I love doing it. I love. There's one in Port, like a really old cemetery. I just love walking around it. It's something very soothing about it for me. So yeah,
And of course, with Poltergeist, one of my favorite parts in the sequel was when they introduced the man himself when he comes walking up the driveway in the rain.
that's right.
God is in his holy temple.
That's right, man. Fucking hell.
That was just a mental scene.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have to revisit that movie. It's class.
The first two are excellent. The third one is crap.
I never saw the third one,
Don't
so
bother.
yeah. But no, the first and the second are brilliant.
Leave it at that.
Yeah, isn't she? She kind of puts me in mind of my youngest daughter. I can't remember the actress's name.
It was Heather something, wasn't it?
Yeah, but my youngest looked exactly like her at that age, so it's class film.
What's her name? Oh, I can't remember. But she passed it by number three before number three even came out.
Wow.
One of the greatest transformation scenes of all time, American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, it's
That still looks incredible. Like
it looks absolutely brilliant. I don't think there's been a better werewolf on screen. I know Carl Woe thinks the same. It's like the quintessential werewolf, and um, definitely an inspiration for our band as well.
Werewolf Project, after all.
Yeah, it's incredible. I met Jenny Agutter when I was living in London. I was working in helping renovate an old library in southeast London, and I was walking through the park, and up ahead of me in the mist was Jenny Agutter with two small puppies
Jesus.
walking their dogs, and I just started chatting to her. She was lovely, absolutely nicest person you can meet, which was great because you say don't meet your heroes or whatever.
Exactly.
She was lovely. But I did say to her, "Hi, hello, nice puppies." And I thought maybe she may have taken that up the wrong way, but she didn't, thankfully.
No, that would have been a more American term than anything else.
I think so.
Yeah, she wouldn't have got that reference. But again, if you haven't seen an American Werewolf in London, it's just as you say, it's the essential werewolf film.
Yeah, it is essential werewolf film. The very the very early scenes when they're actually walking through the moors and they get to the slaughter lamb. The movie making doesn't get better than that. It's just with the rain pounding the place, and then you just see their feet on the road, and then they're not on the road, and you hear that howl, and then I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but my God, what a film! Incredible.
And we've already touched on this, but of course you have to mention Halloween when you talk about classic horror films, like because they're still going to this day with varying degrees of quality and success, but there's still a series that's continued on. Like,
Yeah, incredible movie, and I love the way the first and the second kind of tie in perfectly to each other. Um, Amazing movies. I didn't mind the last two as well. I know it went through that period during the '90s where the franchise was just sold off and you could just do whatever you wanted to. And I also don't hate Halloween 3. I mean, the Season of the Witch, which is yeah,
that was going to bring it up next, obviously, so I need to bring it up now. But this was the plan. This was the start of a planned trilogy.
mm-hmm.
And because it flopped so hardly, because there was no Michael Myers in it, the studio just fucking pulled the plug on the whole thing and went back to making Michael Myers again.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Yeah. The Soul Silver Shamrock thing and
Yeah.
3 more days to Halloween.
Well, it kind of made sense at the time because the Med Halloween, Michael escaped.
Yeah.
And the Med Halloween 2, and we won't spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but it made sense to continue on to go a different direction because at that time it reached its logical conclusion.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. So they want to take a bit of a curveball. Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good movie. It reminds me a little bit of Cat's Eye, another great movie that came around.
Oh God, yeah, the trilogy, yeah.
Yeah, great show.
Bloody hell, I haven't seen them in years. And a horror film now it's actually quite scary how it's become so relevant over the years as they live. Obey everything, like all the subliminal messages everywhere. If you don't wear the glasses, you don't see the world the way it really is.
The greatest movie fight in all movies.
Oh yeah.
They fight for about 15 minutes.
Oh, it's at least 10, 15 minutes going on.
Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Who I think could have went on to make a lot more really good cheesy movies, but he died too soon, didn't he? But They Live is brilliant. That stands up really well. Still, the boxes of the sunglasses and the old church. Brilliant. It's just a brilliant film.
I have to mention The Evil Dead.
Yeah. Unreal. Sam Raimi.
One of the best trilogies ever.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
This was a pure horror film, but after 2 and 3, they went in a completely different direction.
Yeah. And so many quotes in those movies as well. It's my boom boom stick.
My boomstick.
Yeah.
Just great films. And the amount of time that took them to make Evil Dead, they were making that for years.
Mm-hmm.
Years, because they had no budget.
The Necronomicon.
They just had the old house and out in the country that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But they made a series out of films, and it put Sam Raimi very firmly on the map, didn't it?
Big time. No, they're phenomenal movies. Army of Darkness is just incredible too. And did you ever see Papa Hotep?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's another.
That's also in my collection. Of course, Drag Me to Hell is in there as well too.
Oh yeah, these are just brilliant movies, fantastic. And if you brought the storyline and you brought that to a producer and you said, I've got this idea for a movie, you said it's all about Elvis living in an old folks home, and nobody's going to put money behind that movie, but it's amazing.
We got to have an LVHS in here.
Mm-hmm.
Event Horizon.
Class, yeah. Space vampires. Space vampires?
No. It's where Sam Neill creates the ship that has a black hole inside it that can travel through time. It goes through a different dimension, and it basically comes back from hell, basically.
That's right. Yeah.
And the ship is just fucking evil, like.
Yeah.
It manifests all your fears.
What's the one with the space vampires in it then? Or have I made that movie up in my head?
I've never heard of that, to be honest.
Maybe we should make that.
That sounds like some really shitty X-rated film, to be honest.
Yeah.
To be true, actually. Very quick now on this one. Because it's not a classic film, but it's one that this is one of the few films that I would like to see remade with modern technology, if they've done it right, would be Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah.
And of
Bob.
course, it had the full-on AC/DC soundtrack the whole way through. Stephen King's directorial debut, like,
Everything just it's funny, only certain things get kind of cursed. Like there'd be some like a hairdryer will go bonkers or a toaster might go a bit mad, but other things will be okay. But that's a class film.
we'll just throw these two heavy hitters in together because Friday the 13th and Hellraiser, like you know, they
Yeah.
both had about two good films, realistically, but they're still culturally phenomenal, like,
Yeah. Well, you've got the two of the biggest icons in modern, Pinhead and Jason Voorhees. So amazing. Yeah. Fantastic films. Friday the 13th in particular is one of my favorites.
And the
Hellraiser,
original isn't even Jason, like.
yeah. Hellraiser for me was on the verge of too psychological. I think there was an awful lot of kind of S&M and kind of things that didn't really would want to watch in a horror movie. It was a bit gratuitous for me. But again, like Jason is just, I mean, he can be as gratuitous as you want to, but I think it was just a bit too full on for me. Friday the 13th or Hellraiser one.
Hellraiser, yeah.
But I watched it when I was particularly pretty young, so
Yeah. They were grand. And this now was this was actually a film that terrified people because it just, the fact that they're all around you at all times is arachnophobia.
yeah, yeah. Again, along with clowns, I'm okay with spiders. Clowns, dolls, and spiders, they don't really freak me out that much. Especially, well, yeah, because you can stand on them pretty much.
Exactly.
Are you okay with spiders, Phil? I don't know.
Oh, I don't mind them at all. They're harmless, sure.
Yeah, you're in Roscommon, where we are. We've been cursed with spiders since we moved into this house. They're just everywhere, so it's pretty lucky we don't have arachnophobia. In all honesty,
That's for sure.
yeah, that was a huge movie. It made a huge box office as well when it came out.
This isn't really a horror film, but it's kind of a horror film. But it's a great film.
Mm.
The Burbs.
Yeah.
With Tom Hanks, where the neighbors move in and they're convinced that they're mass murderers and they go on a big going into investigation for themselves and make up all these theories and everything just goes fucking batshit crazy.
No, that's a really good show. I haven't seen that for years, but that's a class movie.
That's one of my all-time favorite films.
It reminds me a bit of Neighbour with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. It's like John Belushi would always be the crazy one, and Dan Aykroyd would be the kind of straight guy. In Neighbour, John Belushi's a straight guy, and Dan Aykroyd is a weird neighbor who's like, they see him digging up holes at night, and they're just not too sure about him. So The Burbs came out after Neighbour, but I think it's a pretty similar movie.
And two we've already touched on, so we don't really say much about them. We've already touched on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 with Dennis Quaid, just how different it was from the first one. It was it was just completely over the top compared to the first one.
Yeah, the chili eating contest at the start when you know what's going to actually go into that chili. And then whenever the girl, which is particularly gratuitous scene, but whenever Leatherface has killed this girl's partner and she's lying there in the room and he comes in, it's pretty dark. So she gets his face, which has been put up, and puts it on her own face, so it looks like it's him. It's class.
Good show, all right.
Of course,
we already touched on as well was, of course, with Bram Stoker's Dracula earlier on, how it's a great film, like.
Oh, tremendous. The wardrobe alone in that movie, it just
my god.
Yeah. My own werewolf is walking around here with a squeaky toy in its mouth, so if you hear any squeaks, it's not me, it's the dog.
And you, as someone, you're obviously not a writer of novels, but you're a writer as such. Mm-hmm. Misery, that fucking just a classic.
The ankle scene.
Oh, the hobbling.
Yeah,
nasty.
Yeah, no, it's tremendous.
You want it? Eat it, you stick twisted fuck.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta give some love to the Tremors.
Yeah, brilliant. What year was the Tremors?
It was the 80s for definite.
1990?
89.
Yeah, yeah, class film.
And they've made a bunch of sequels, and they're apart from the last one, they're all very good.
Mm-hmm. And they, as long as they don't go down like the kind of Sharknado kind of,
Oh no, they're not. No, they're actually they brought in new creatures and stuff, and they're actually decent. The follow-ups, but the
okay.
first one is the best.
First one's incredible.
And of course, the man, not Kevin Bacon, the other lad, doesn't say his name on the cover. Actually, shit. Fred Ward, he passed there recently too.
Did he?
He did, yeah. He was
Ah,
still making Tremors films up to his death.
well, that was his thing.
A classic from that classic, just The Silence of the Lambs. What can you say? Just a classic.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the best acting performances of all time in Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster.
Amazing. Miggs, Miggs in the cell. Yeah, incredible. Very, very disturbing psychologically, and he was just class. And apparently a friend of Donald Trump's, if you believe what you hear. Yeah, yeah,
He seems to be quite a wacky human being in real life, though.
yeah. No, it's an amazing movie, amazing film.
An amazing actor, though, Anthony Hopkins. One of the best.
It's beautifully filmed, beautifully lit. And
Very quickly, have you seen one of his more recent films, The Father?
no,
Oh, man. It's not a horror film, but it might as well be. Have you ever seen the film Memento with Guy Pearce?
yeah,
Anthony Hopkins plays an old man with dementia,
okay,
and the film goes through his eyes. Man, it's powerful.
yeah. I need to watch that.
Oh, he won the Best Actor award for it back in 2021.
Wow. It's in Silence of the Lambs case when you have you know, I wasn't big into the books. I know some people absolutely love the books, like Red Dragon and stuff. But when you have a screenplay like that and a director like that and two actors like that, unless you actually take a huge shit on the script on the first day, it's going to be good. You know, when you get actors of that quality. Jodie Foster is magnificent in that film.
Oh, brilliant. Just a class film.
Mm.
Another film from the 90s, which was another take on the whole vampire genre. This is the end of the vampire ones now, but it was just so different. It was Interview with the Vampire. It just kind of flipped the whole genre on its head, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think he's been better in a movie. I think he was tremendous in that film.
Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise are just they're two of the best actors out there, like on their day, like.
Yeah, no, that's a class. So that's a class show. As Anne Rice was an Interview with Vampire, I think.
Hmm?
Was it Anne Rice wrote the book?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
And of course, The Conjuring started a whole series of films of varying degrees of quality, but the first two were good.
First one's class. I watched that not that long ago again. It's really, really good movie.
And the stuff going on with that house to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's all ifs and buts, but it's still going on.
Yeah.
A really, really obscure one. The People Under the Stairs. Have you ever seen that?
A long time ago, Phil.
Mental.
Yeah. What year was The People Under the Stairs?
Doesn't say on the back of this, it's just a reprint, but where does it say? No, it's not 2001. It was older than that. It was definitely the 90s.
Yeah. No, I have seen it, but not since it came out, so I need to revisit that one. But I remember it being good.
That was a good show, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're talking about horror films, you have to mention the Scream films, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was considered a dying genre, that slasher movie. Yeah, traditional sense of the word, but they worked, and it worked, and they're fantastic.
I have them all bar the newest one.
Mm.
And I 1, 2, and 3, and 4 are somewhere in my collection. I just brought out the newest reboot.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was really, really good. They brought back Dewey and Gale and them all, and it just felt like a Neve, like Campbell brought back. You know, if you're going to bring it back, they've just done it properly, like.
Yeah. I know, have you the most recent thing to take it? I mean, Scream would have been that period Terrifier is really taking over that mantle, hasn't it? Those
Oh, sure, Terrifier is breaking. Number 3 is absolutely killing it in the box office at the moment.
yeah, huge. So I mean, there's still a lot of legs in those movies. People still want to see it. So
Well, we can't talk about Halloween. We have to mention The Crow, don't we?
yeah, no way.
Not really a horror film, but it's just Halloween and The Crow. They're fucking hand in hand, like, aren't they?
Yeah, what a tragic story. Yeah.
Yeah, Kill making it, but
Yeah.
have you ever seen Room 1408?
No.
John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
John Cusack is basically this guy that goes around trying to debunk haunted locations.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this Room 1408 in a hotel, and they try to make him not go into the room,
Okay.
and it's very good.
Okay.
Because John Cusack is a great actor at the best of times.
He's an amazing actor, John Cusack.
And even though shit's getting going down, he's still trying to convince himself that it's not real.
Mm.
This is all they're playing the trick on me. This is just a fucking joke they've made up. This is just a game they play to put people in the room for publicity.
I need to watch that.
It's brilliant film. Brilliant
Good.
film. Down to the last few now. If there ever was a terrifying film, like a real fucking terrifying film that could potentially happen, would be The Road. Man, that's a powerful film. Have you ever seen The Road?
I remember it coming out.
It's basically set in a dystopian future where there's basically no resources. And people will do whatever they can to survive. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And it's fucking nasty.
Who's in it?
The actors are very unknown. They're all very unknown. Robert Duvall is in it.
Okay.
Guy Pearce is in it. Well, no, they're not. They're actually quite big, actually.
Yeah.
But it's just basically the father and the son trying to get across this dystopian wasteland and all the things that can happen along the way.
Again, I remember that one coming out, but I never saw it.
That's worth a watch.
Yeah, I've got some great homework here tonight.
But don't watch that if you're in bad form.
Okay.
Or late at night, because it's fucking nasty. Like,
all right.
it shows how human beings would behave if it got to that point.
Which, of course, is true. You know.
Yeah, it's true. That's why it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, you have to mention the 28 Days Later films.
Mm-hmm.
I know people are on the fucking. They have their own thing with zombies. They prefer the Dawn of the Dead films, or Dawn of the Dead or whatever, because they're zombies and zombies shouldn't run. But this was a different take on it.
Well, that was the thing when we were watching that. We always thought, what if zombies could run? So that was the logical move on. Yeah, fantastic. It's an awesome movie.
And they're making us. Would you believe it's 28 Years Later is coming out next year?
Oh, okay. So was it 28 years since that movie came out?
No, it's just the next one is going to be called 28 Years Later.
Okay, just going to go, what the hell was I doing for the last 28 years? Okay, yeah, cool.
So that's what the next one is going to be based on. We'll have to mention Japanese films, horror films, so we'll mention The Ring.
Yeah. Oh, what a movie.
Fucking scary shit, like.
Yeah.
Especially the Japanese ones.
I only have seen the Japanese ones. I never saw the remakes, so yeah.
Well, they're not really remakes, they're just Americanized.
Americanized versions, yeah.
And I always include this one in the podcast. It's not a horror film, but it's getting fucking closer and closer and closer, and it's called Idiocracy.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that?
No.
That's a film you need to watch.
Okay.
It's basically set, whatever. It was made in the 90s anyway, or the early 2000s. And the basic premise of the story is a middle of the road intellect man, someone like myself, or someone like that, just smart enough, like not stupid, but just not a genius, like just regular human being. And he gets it put into this tube, and he gets frozen, and something happens, and he gets towed out in the future, and he's the smartest man on the planet. And according to the historical data, he's the smartest man that ever lived, because the world has just got so fucked, like.
Okay. It's a bit like The Sleeper with Woody Allen, but kind of, yeah. Okay.
Oh, you need to check out Idiocracy. It's not. It's that film that everyone. Back in the day, but people didn't know the name of it. Do you ever remember that shit film where your man gets frozen and wakes up in the future? That's what people used to describe it back as. It's got real cult following now, though.
Okay.
But it's getting there, man.
Yeah, I'll give that a whirl.
It's getting there.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%.
Another werewolf film, but I love it. One of my favorite films. I could watch it every day of the week and still be entertained by it. Dog Soldiers.
A tremendous film.
Love that film so much.
Incredible.
Just the thoughts of just some Scottish lad with a thick Scottish accent saying "fuck off," hitting the werewolves with a pot or a pan or whatever he get his hands on. Like,
The Creep Show franchise to what it is now, it's like they make short movies in like a Twilight Zone kind of similar vibe. I think they're on Shocker now. You can watch them, but I think you can also look them up online. But they have a similar story to the Dog Soldier story, but it's based around the Second World War, and these American soldiers end up in this. They're in France and they're fighting their way through France, and they get into this building, and it's a jailhouse, and there's a woman locked in jail, but all the jailers are dead. The Nazi soldiers are there; they're all dead, throats ripped out. Well worth a watch. Very similar to Dog Soldiers. Tremendous. I don't want to do it, but well worth watch. I'll send you the link for it.
and a horror film, but one of the best film endings to a horror film ever. Not for good reasons, but for horrible reasons. Was The Mist.
Okay, I never saw The Mist.
Oh, I've never seen The Mist.
No.
Oh fuck, then I can't. We can't talk about it. So
Okay.
you'll have to watch that.
Okay, so it's not just a version of The Fog.
Slightly,
Okay.
but instead of it, this mist comes in, and no, you'll just have to watch it
Okay.
because there's so much going on in it that just it's an excellent film and one people should definitely check out.
I have about 10 movies to watch over the next 2 nights now.
Good stuff. Have you a bit of Korean this time? Have you ever seen Train to Busan?
It's amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. That's probably of modern horror films, zombie films.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah, it's a bit of a masterpiece.
Did you ever see the sequel?
No, the first one's incredible.
The second one is it's tragic.
Tragic in good way or tragic
No,
shit?
tragically bad.
Oh, okay. I'll give it one a
But
one.
Train to Busan, brilliant film.
Train to Busaurus.
We need to get an Irish film in here before we get to the end. We're near the end now. Grabbers. Have you ever seen that?
No. And you have one, is that Blu-ray?
It's a Blu-ray. Yeah, it's Grabbers. It's filmed in Ireland.
No, never saw it.
Well, that's another one you need to check out.
That's 11 movies now I've got to watch between now and Halloween night.
And I'll just tell you one thing about this film. There's a scene later in the film where they're drinking. Okay? One of the actors, female, I'll just say female actor, had never drank before in her life before that scene. So that's just a bit of a context for when you do watch it.
Okay, so it's
So
very...
she's genuinely pissed out of her fucking head for the first time in her life filming the scene.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah. So where do we end? I know where we're going to end. Yeah, that's where we're going to end. Well, have you ever seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
No.
Oh
No.
my God, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. It's a horror comedy,
Okay.
and it's fantastic fun. Basically, the premise is that these college kids go out into the woods, like, for this cabin, and Tucker and Dale, and they're convinced that they're evil, crazy fucking rednecks, and they're two of the softest lads you'd ever meet. And it's fucking hilarious.
Is that a relatively recent movie?
Yeah, but fairly recent. Yeah, does it say what year on it here? 2010, so it's 14 years old.
Yeah. Okay.
Great show. Of course, we have to mention It, don't we? Like It. They all float.
Disturbing, very
I
disturbing.
preferred the original, but the reboot was very good too.
Yeah.
Tim Curry was amazing.
Oh, Tim Curry's amazing in everything. I mean, Rocky Horror Picture Show's my joint favorite movie, along with Jaws. It's probably, yeah, Jaws, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and depending on the day of the week, American Werewolf in London or Singing in the Rain. So that's an eclectic mix.
So Nick's all right.
Predator's
I'd probably be more inclined to watch the likes of Predator or Aliens or Terminator 2 myself.
another one of those headphone movies with a bottle of wine at about 2 in the morning. It's like, incredible. You just immerse yourself in that film. It's just the best.
And we're going to finish on a light note. But in my opinion, one of the best trilogies anyone has made. They're very different, all three, but all three are absolutely brilliant. Was the trilogy by Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and World's End.
Yeah, all fantastic.
Just superb films, like.
Yeah. Shaun of the Dead in particular, and it's aped Red Fang do a video which is really pretty much just a rip-off of that, which is class. They're amazing, and I love Simon Pegg in movies. He's class.
And as we'll say, we'll end with at World's End.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I watched it, didn't like it. Because Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are just gold, like. I went back to it a few years ago. I was wrong. I was very wrong.
Mm-hmm. You get that. Yeah, you revisit movies and you think the ones that you keep on thinking, do I like this movie? Did I like that? Are usually movies that you really, really love. It's just you're trying to, get it right in your head. Like The Lighthouse was one of those movies. I came out of that.
Brilliant.
Did I like that? Did I like it? I love that movie now. Yeah, so there's a few movies like that where you're just the first opinion, not sure about that, and then you just end up being one of your favorite all-time favorites. So yeah, class.
And we have reached the end of our Halloween horror for 2024. We didn't go as in depth now as other years.
I feel a bit educated on a lot of movies that I need to watch.
Like normally, I'd have another pile for this, but when there was only two, I just said, no, that's enough for one person to talk about.
Yeah.
Because when there's a few talking, somebody else can take up the slack on one over the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I said I won't go as hard on you as other people over the years.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. Yeah,
good selection there. Loads of classics. We started at the beginning. We didn't really delve too much into modern horror because most of it's crap. Well, that's incorrect. But it's just, for starters, you can't buy it on physical.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know, it's all been done before, hasn't it?
Yeah, to an extent. And it's also the period feel of a lot of those movies. Like the 80s ones I've got a real love for because even just street scenes or when you're looking at the kid's bedroom, you're bringing yourself back to when that was you. It's a period thing. And that's why I like the 80s stuff so much. Trick or Treat being one. Like the guy's bedroom in Trick or Treat could have been my bedroom when I was that age. So yeah. So yeah, there's an awful lot of homework there for people who want to watch some stuff over Halloween.
Jesus, man, I could have given you proper homework if I'd known that. But I think you've enough. You've 11.
I have 11 to go. Yeah, 11 to do.
Not too bad. And before we finish, of course, this podcast, obviously you're watching it on Halloween if you're watching it because it's going live on Halloween. And of course, the Werewolf Project will be dropping at 10 p.m. So this will be going live at 6:15. So check out, go up on Facebook and are you on Instagram as well, the Werewolf Project, yeah?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I'll send you a wee link over.
And of course, you're on YouTube as well too, yes?
Yeah, it'll all be out there. So
Bandcamp?
It's going to be on Bandcamp. I need to get my finger out and get that all arranged for Thursday night. And yeah, very exciting times. So we just wanted to get something out there before. We're going to drip feed a few songs before the album comes out. That's the way we're going to do it. So
that's the only way to do it now, man.
I think so.
If you drop an album now altogether, it's forgotten in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way the world has gone now. It's everything is last week's news.
Exactly.
So if you drip feed it as you're saying, you'll get more value out of it because you'll spread it out and it'll get more people to check it out.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about everybody I'm playing with, and it's been about a year in the making of getting everything put together and stuff. And now to actually get it ready to birth it out there, out of your chest, so everything gets ripped apart as it bursts out onto the scene. Yeah, it's exciting times. So thanks very much for having us on to talk about it as well.
No bother, man, no bother. And we shall leave it at that. And check out the Werewolf Project. And I'm off to do another podcast now.
All right, Phil. Thank you so much.
No bother. Thanks to everyone for watching. See you next time.